Welcome to your guide to cottagecore and its subcategories and similar aesthetics. If you clicked on this video without knowing what aesthetics are out there, make sure to check out my Aesthetics 2020 video and my Academia Aesthetics guide first. And if you have an aesthetic you'd like me to make a video on, let me know in the comments. Now let us begin. Cottagecore is an aesthetic which focuses on a return to a more traditional setting and time period in life, the romanticization of agricultural life, to put it simply. Imagine a lovely cottage in the woods or by the fields in the countryside, where you can fully utilize your own skills to do things from scratch, such as crafting baskets, gardening, foraging, baking, and pottery. You could be wearing a simple gingham dress and an apron, pick up berries in the woods, and bake a berry pie with them later and eat it while drinking some homebrewed tea. Like many other aesthetics, cottagecore has similar nostalgic movements and subcategories, such as grandmacore, naturecore, honeycore, warmcore, mori, dark and goth cottagecore, goblincore, and fairycore, which I will dive into later in this video. The purpose of cottagecore is to represent a nostalgia towards a period in time without smartphones, electricity, and other household luxuries we're used to. For 90s kids, this aesthetic might feel more like nostalgia of one's childhood. For me personally, being a Finnish girl, I pretty much grew up living the cottagecore aesthetic as a child. It is common for Finns to either own or rent a summer cottage by a lake or in a forest. So picking berries to make pies, fishing in the lake, and wearing loose gingham dresses while frolicking through the fields and picking flowers to make flower crowns was all very familiar to me. I think, in fact, cottagecore definitely resembles that of the Finnish summer cottage lifestyle, as we still use some of its core principles in our lives when we visit our summer cottages. Just a personal discovery I've noticed. Away from the judgment of other people, and away from technology and the distractions of an urban lifestyle, cottagecore offers a comfort that most aesthetics don't. It is an escape from stress, trauma, and the anxieties of everyday life, offering much more than its fashion aesthetic if you choose to dive deep into it. And if you're here, you've most likely stumbled into cottagecore multiple times by now, as everyone still in quarantine has a desperate need to escape to nature. In fact, this escapism was common already all the way back when French nobles like Marie Antoinette would often retreat to the countryside cottages and farms to escape their posh lives. Marie Antoinette herself would dress like a local servant or milkmaid at the farm, as to sort of put on a disguise to entertain herself in the pleasures of a much simpler life. So now that we've discovered the meaning of the words behind cottagecore, let's take a look at the fashion. I will initially cover cottagecore and then progress to its subcategories and similar aesthetics. Quick disclaimer here, I do not pretend to know all the aesthetics out there that could be related to cottagecore, so if you notice me missing out on something, please let me know in the comments. I will also include androgynous and masculine forms of cottagecore fashion, as I am aware most aesthetics are hyper-focused on feminine fashion. If you want to look for some fashion inspiration for cottagecore, turn towards shows, movies, and books like Anne with an E, any Jane Austen books or movies, Little Women, Kiki's Delivery Service, Gone with the Wind, and The Secret Garden. You can also research, for example, the 19th century fashion and its role specifically tied to agricultural everyday life. Pinafore dresses with collared shirts, for example, were a classic during the times for working women, and men often opted for button-up shirts, vests, and simple trousers paired with boots and a hat. The color palette consists of lots of neutral and natural tones, such as ivory, brown, beige, olive green, mustard yellow, and some brighter colors such as baby pink, dusty rose, light yellow, and baby blue. Contrary to the ideals this aesthetic centers itself around, cottagecore fashion is actually impractical for things such as gardening and farming. The fashion of cottagecore mostly consists of long, loosely fitted clothing, such as pinafore dresses and aprons, or midi skirts and loose-fit dress pants and collared plaid shirts. Layers are very welcome. Pockets, puffy sleeves, and button-up blouses are some classic looks when you don't want to opt for dresses. But when you want a bit more flair, definitely include classics like lace gowns, aprons, milkmaid dresses, and tiered dresses. Desired patterns include simple floral prints, gingham, and stripes. Examples of good textures for your clothing are silk and cotton, but I do think you can vary the material of your clothes as long as it fits in the aesthetic. You can also add in some embroidery if you wish. Accessorize with simple and dainty jewelry. For example, some DIY crafted earrings or a simple heart locket or necklace. Wear big felt, bucket, floppy, or straw hats, and your hair down or in braids. You can also opt for a ribbon or a simple vintage pin to keep your hair natural with a little something to catch the eye. Flower crowns, of course, are a must if possible. Add in some ballerina flats or lace-up boots to complete the look. Subgenres of cottagecore. Now that we've looked at cottagecore as a whole, let's look into its subcategories and similar aesthetics. I have included aesthetics that have some fashion sense included, instead of aesthetics to simply describe a certain mood or landscape, such as farmcore. Dark or goth cottagecore. Dark or goth cottagecore has darker, witchier vibes and an autumnal setting. It has focus on differing imagery, like solitary cottage life, often with an emphasis on farming and gardening. While the fashion is mostly similar to cottagecore, goth cottagecore outfits tend to be completely or partly in black. It includes natural elements, and some individuals have included forms of witchcraft closely tied to nature, such as Wicca, though such practices are not required to enjoy the fashion aspect of this aesthetic. To dress in this aesthetic, switch out your flowy dress to a black drapey dress with perhaps some berry red lipstick and other darker colors to match. You can opt for a darker button-up with a black t-shirt under, and honestly, I think you can match most goth aspects into this subcategory, but keep your look still slightly softer, with for example having soft curls or your hair pinned behind your ears. Morike. Morike is an aesthetic stemming from Japan, and it centers around an appearance that is inspired by living in the woods. Mori means forest in Japanese, hence the term mori girl, which started trending online in 2009. This aesthetic is a slightly more elegant and doll-like version of cottagecore. The color palette of morike consists mostly of earthy tones like off-white, navy blue, khaki, beige, and brown. The fashion consists of many loose layers that hide the body shape, often including some flare or ruffle, creating a sort of fluffy and comfy appearance in the look. Though mostly consisting of, but not limiting to, dresses, most of the clothing articles should include patterns, textures, and materials such as crochet, embroidery, and light materials like chiffon. As for the layering, cardigans, vests, and collars are used most often. You can also opt for loose-fitting pants paired with oversized and layered tops and vests. To accessorize, keep your hair and makeup fairly natural, focusing again on earthy tones and letting your hair lie naturally as is, maybe in a half-up, half-down, or a simple braid. Grandmacore. Like cottagecore, grandmacore is an aesthetic that is also based around the cottage themes, but this time with a focus on a stereotypical cottage grandma. Things included in this aesthetic are knitting, farmland animals, freshly baked bread, and other grandma-style stuff. The color palette of grandmacore includes a lot of toned-down and muted colors, such as wine red, dark brown, olive green, and mauve. The fashion is similar to cottagecore, but much more mature, and perhaps even more worn-down looking. Cozy jumpers, old vintage dresses, and your hair in a low bun if you wish. Wear a lot of crochet cardigans and accessories, and make sure that your dresses usually reach ankle length. The easiest way to style this is to probably wear clothes that you or your grandma have knitted, as grandmacore centers around the coziness and familiarity the articles of clothing make you feel. Wear your hair in a low or high bun, or braided to one side. Naturecore. Naturecore is an aesthetic surrounding the theme of animals and topics related to nature, such as plants, woodland, riverbanks, and such. The color palette consists of lots of naturally occurring colors, such as varying shades of greens, browns, and reds. Fast fashion is out of question. so steer towards sustainable, perhaps even homemade clothes. Because this aesthetic is not very well known, there isn't a lot to be said about its fashion, but I think appropriate patterns and textures are floral prints and some more simplistic prints reminding of nature, perhaps even some embroidery. You can of course opt for more classic vintage looks like ruffled blouses and tops, long skirts, or rolled up relaxed pants. Keep your hair pinned behind the ears or naturally as is. Honeycore. Honeycore is a really sweet aesthetic, based around the rural production and consumption of sweet foods such as honey, bread, waffles, and cakes. Imagine backyard picnic vibes with included themes of green grass and daisies. It is similar to cottagecore in its agricultural imagery and values, but its color palette is very simple, consisting of only warm shades of yellows, browns, as well as white. This aesthetic is visually pleasing to the eye with its golden feel, mixed in with brown, white, or green. You can play around with this style as long as you stick to the color palette. Ruffles, frills, tulle skirts, and soft cotton turtlenecks and cardigans are welcome. This style has a lot of variety between masculine and feminine looks, ranging from oversized sunflower print sweaters and jeans to white or yellow silk dresses and simple flats or sneakers. You can experiment with your hair up or down and wear warm-toned makeup if you'd like. Goblincore. Goblincore celebrates aspects of nature that most people would find ugly or dirty, ranging from animals such as frogs and snails, or materials like moss and mud, and plants like mushrooms. As its centerpiece stands the goblin, a European folklore creature known for thieving and its ugliness. Like naturecore, the goblincore color palette is mostly based on varying shades naturally occurring in the nature, such as green and brown. The fashion can consist of any clothing that is suitable to throw on and get out of the house. Unlike with most aesthetics, the colors and patterns of your clothes can clash, and a lot of clothes are second-hand, hand-me-downs, worn out, or thrifted for a more comfortable feel and look. The clothes themselves are more of a practical need rather than a fashion statement, so their cleanliness is not a priority. Wear items like sweaters, worn out or DIY jeans and overalls, and some unique socks to add to the mix. Keep your hair in a messy bun, ponytail, or simply open. Wear nature-themed jewelry or something bizarre that others might think weird. Fairycore. Like most of the other aesthetics, fairycore's main focus is nature, but add a little princess elements to it with butterflies, flowers, and other magical creatures of the forest. Think about movies like The Little Princess or The Sacred Garden for references. Fairycore's color palette is very bright and colorful compared to the other aesthetics, as it is based off of pastels. The textures of fairycore consist of a lot of sheer or light materials, such as lace or chiffon. Frilly dresses and blouses with ruffles, and fairy tale-like outfits fit with this aesthetic. You can also add in some magical jewelry like opal rings and heart necklaces. Wear your hair down, half up, or in a low messy bun, perhaps some loose curls as well. Your makeup can include more glitter than usual, as well as pastel shades. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you next time.